Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So if you've been watching my videos over the years, you may have noticed I've made quite a few response videos to these why I'm no longer vegan video people. And if you've seen these videos, I'm sure you've seen a common denominator amongst most of them, like I would say about 90% of them, is that they don't either eat any cooked food or they're just eating fruit. And some of these people are or were popular YouTubers and vloggers, and some you may have never heard of before. But what these former YouTubers and influencers all have in common is that they went for extended periods of time, long-term raw foodists, years, some of them like 4 or 5 plus years without any cooked food, and as a result ended up with various health problems, and then made these videos why they're no longer vegan. And it's arguable if they were even vegan in the first place, because veganism is not about eating uncooked food for the rest of your life. It's a stance against animal cruelty and exploitation. And it's unfortunate when these people make their why I'm no longer vegan videos, you see all these anti-vegan people and just regular non-vegan people throw that in our faces as clear examples of how so many people are quitting a vegan diet, when the truth of the matter is most all these people were never on a proper, sensible, well-planned vegan diet. They were doing their own magical woo-woo diet. They were following this kind of crap.
Basically, grains must be cooked in order to be consumed. And we create carcinogens and mutagens and teratogens that affect our offspring negatively. We create tremorogens and tumorigens.
Cooked food was the most recent thing I've had to overcome. The most recent addiction I've had to overcome. I never once, that I really remember, successfully overcame a craving when it came to cooked food.
Raw food is God's original intention for our biology. The number one reason why raw food heals all disease is elimination. All disease is caused from the accumulation of waste in the body. Call it inflammation, call it acid waste, call it poop.
See what I'm talking about there from this raw influencer, just complete nonsense propaganda, has nothing at all to do with animal cruelty and exploitation. It's very self-focused, very selfish. It's not about animals, it's about me and all these magical things that are going to happen. But that's besides the point. So the reason why I'm making this video is because I've learned a few things over the many years responding to these why I'm no longer vegan, raw, fruitarian type people. So I want to share with you why I think raw and fruitarian diets are dangerous and they just suck. All right, so before I totally jump into my argument here, I want to establish 2 points here before all you haters who love these raw diets start ripping into me. Well, you're probably ripping into me anyway, but one, I'm not saying every last single person who eats that way is gonna fail. I'm just saying there's a really high chance you're gonna fail on your raw diet, and there's a really high chance you might not even be vegan anymore, because most of these people, once they quit, instead of trying a balanced, sensible vegan diet for a change, they go into other new trendy fad diets like carnivore and stuff. Secondly, I eat plenty of raw food. I mean, watch my videos that I've made over the years of banana smoothies. I've probably eaten more bananas than almost any of you guys watch. And I've loved starting my day out with a big fruit smoothie, especially after a workout. But I don't say eat only bananas or only raw food. I eat, again, a balanced, sensible blend of plants. All right, I don't put too much credit in stories like this. This is just an individual example, but we probably all heard the story about the raw vegan influencer who died. And I think this had more to do with anorexia, which isn't helped by eating an extreme and restrictive diet, which fruitarian diets are. But it's a bad look for vegans because, again, you see the word vegan influencer dies, vegan dies, and I have to explain to people, no, they're eating a really weird, extreme and restrictive diet, which pretty much is nothing like how I and anyone else I know eats. And pretty much every time I see a story like this about vegan parents starving their vegan children and sometimes inadvertently unaliving them, and you dig a little deeper in the story and they weren't eating a sensible vegan diet. Once again, they were following an extreme and restrictive raw diet. And to be clear, what I mean by extreme and restrictive is exactly that. Raw vegans and fruitarians intentionally exclude perfectly healthy food groups from ever being eaten, like legumes and grains and starches. I mean, us regular vegans can eat the entire breadth of plants that nature offers, and you guys have restricted it down just a small subset of that, and that's why you're not getting the diverse array of nutrients that you probably need, and we'll get to that in a second. So enough of my personal opinions, which, by the way, are grounded in critical thinking and evidence-based information. Speaking of which, let's see what the peer-reviewed scientific studies have to say about raw vegan diets. I could be totally wrong. Maybe they say they're totally cool. It's the optimal human diet for humankind. No, not according to this study, which was a systematic literature review of the available evidence to assess and investigate the effects of a raw vegetarian diet. And they said, based on our findings from the literature, a raw vegan diet with more than 90% raw food cannot be recommended for a long time due to micronutrient deficiencies as well as related complications. Oh, so related complications from eating a raw diet, a fruitarian diet, that's normal. And that, to me, it totally explains why when we watch these, why I'm no longer vegan videos from like all those people that we saw earlier. That's why they have these health issues, because that's what the science says is quite normal, that you're gonna have some kind of health complications. And one of which is the inability to have your period anymore.
Every animal that we know of, other than humans, eats their food raw and they produce babies. What about humans? Here are the data from that German study. What we see is that as the amount of food eaten raw increases up to 100%, 50% of women by that point are amenorrheic. Their menstrual cycles have closed down altogether. This appears to be because they are short of energy.
I mean, that chart should be a huge wake-up call for all you hardcore, like total raw fruitarian people. The higher the percentage of your diet that is totally raw, the odds are, it's not going to be true for every last person once again, but the odds are you're going to have some deficiencies, caloric deficiencies, nutritional, micronutritional deficiencies. And don't believe me, here's some further evidence. Let's talk about the good old-fashioned anti-nutrients. I mean, every time I see an anti-vegan bring up anti-nutrients, I laugh, because most anti-nutrients are deactivated once you start cooking the food, boiling, heating them up. But if you're eating your food raw, you might have some absorption issues with certain nutrients like iron and calcium because of the oxalates and phytates, which are still present in your food, your raw, uncooked food. Unlike mine, I cook them and the oxalates and phytates have become deactivated. And as a raw vegan or fruitarian, you can have further nutritional deficiencies depending on how hardcore you follow the propaganda. Not to say all raw vegans are like this, but I know there's a huge subset of you guys that believe that all nutritional supplements are unnecessary, they're bad, they're evil, we should try to live like apes, like from a million years ago, whatever you guys' weird theories are. That's an appeal to nature fallacy, by the way. The big point I want to drive home is no matter whether you're a raw vegan, a fruitarian, or someone like myself who eats a balanced, sensible diet, don't be afraid to take supplements, particularly a B12 supplement, because most likely you're not getting it in your diet unless you're having some fortified foods, which you're most definitely not as a raw vegan. The risk you run of not supplementing with B12 is irreversible nerve damage. So don't screw yourself up for your future and have brain damage for the rest of your life by being an ignorant person right now. So my plea to all you raw vegans and fruitarians, if you care to be eating plants, to be vegan, at least eat some kind of vegan diet in the future, your best odds are not to be a raw vegan and fruitarian, because your kind has a horrible track record, not only maintaining just raw veganism or fruitarianism, but just staying vegan over the long term, as evidenced by all those response videos from raw vegans and fruitarians that I've been responding to for years. Yeah, sure, some people who quit weren't raw or fruitarian, but they're in the minority. So what should you do if you want to be vegan for the rest of your life, as I want to? I would say don't be raw or fruitarian. That's the worst thing you can do. That lowers your odds crazily. I would strongly suggest following what the scientific literature says to do as far as eating a healthy, balanced, sensible vegan diet. You're not going to find these kinds of recommendations from health organizations recommending that you give up all cooked food. And my question to you is, why in the hell would you want to do that? You know, it's a bunch of nonsense when people say crap like this.
Our body composition is amazing. Our absorption is on point. Our gut health is on point. You can't have autoimmune and inflammation issues and weight gain when you eat raw vegan.
I almost did a facepalm when he mentioned gut health, because gut issues seems to be the #1 problem that these fruitarians and raw vegans complain about when they make their "why I'm no longer vegan" videos. So anyway, I want to just say I'm not throwing any hate at raw vegans or fruitarians. I might be throwing a little bit of hate to people like that, these leaders, these raw vegan leaders who just spread such non-evidence-based falsehoods and just give people this false sense of what the magical things that are going to happen to you. This guy's even said you can reverse every disease known to man on a raw vegan diet. I mean, it's just complete hucksterism, and too many people believe this. Maybe they're suffering from some health issues and they're looking for some hope, and these leaders, raw leaders, give them that, and it's just so morally irresponsible. So follow what the science says, as opposed to these untrained hucksters and raw gurus who are not following evidence-based information, just selling you their tutoring, their courses, their, what's that called, coaching. Yeah, this guy charges like as much as my attorney costs, and it takes no schooling to teach people how to drink juice and not eat food. Anyway, guys, if you think I'm full of crap and raw is the greatest thing in the world and I'm gonna die and get mucoid plaque because I'm eating steamed broccoli, please come and tell me this Friday or any Friday at my live streams, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just don't be an a-hole, be cool, be chill, be civil, and we can have a conversation about this, all right? So until next time, guys, remember, doesn't suck being vegan.